Good morning, everyone. I'm Larry Sashin, the founder and senior partner at L. Sashin and Associates. We are a consulting firm that deals with small to medium-sized businesses. Well, most of the group must be stuck in traffic because we have 3 of the 6 people here that we wanted to speak to you, but we have the 3 good ones here, so that we're lucky. We're lucky that they're the ones that be able to get through. What we're going to do is, before we start discussing team building in 2021, I would want to go around the room and have everyone introduce themselves. We're going to start with Erica.
Thanks, Larry. Hi, my name is Erica Karbelnik. I'm a chef here in Toronto, Canada, and I'm the current winner of Top Chef Canada for this year. I'm the executive chef of Elmwood Spa downtown, and I'm also currently starting up my own catering company with my husband.
Thank you, Erica. Stephen.
Hey guys, my name is Stephen Yen. I'm the executive chef at Tao Downtown here in New York City. And New York City, born and bred, raised, spent a little stint in Boston, but otherwise than that, New York is where I belong.
Okay, and Catherine.
Hi, I'm Catherine, the head pickle proprietor at Peace Love Pickles, formerly Elsie's, and I make pickles.
Okay, and just tell everybody the little twist you do with your pickles.
So we are the only sandwich shops in the country to substitute our house-made pickles for bread. So we're a sandwich shop, but we have no bread in the house whatsoever.
100% gluten-free, and I wish she was closer to me because I'm dying to try one. Bob, would you spotlight Fred, please?
I can't. Fred's got to have a camera on.
Oh, Fred, turn your camera on.
I have it on.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Good morning. I'm Fred Clashman. I'm the publisher of Total Food Service. Cover the restaurant and food service industry we began in New York and now around the nation. We're thrilled that everybody could join us this morning.
Thank you, Fred. Bob.
I'm Bob Heiss. I'm Larry's partner. Clearly, I'm in charge of the technical things in this call. I just wanted to say one thing. I chose this background today, not to be cute, but just to perhaps accentuate the fact that anytime we talk about team building, what's happening in various places, the us versus them mentality is a kind of a reality that needs to be dealt with, acknowledged. So just put that up there for no other reason, just to provoke some thought.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Well, on to the subject. I don't have to tell anybody how difficult it's been over the last 2 years. First with a bit of a recession going on, then we have a pandemic, and the pandemic caused shutdown of all restaurants and people going on to other industries. And Bob, can you help Peter get on? He's having trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You contact him directly. So we've been through the ups and downs of people moving into other industries, people being hired away by desk jobs as opposed to the really hard work. Yet we find out that 72% of all restaurant owners, managers are having trouble filling spots. Yet there are a group of people who succeed. And Stephen, I'd like to start with you. You have a very high-end restaurant in downtown Manhattan. And you have an interesting way of team building. Can you share that with the people?
Sure. Like everyone else, we lost a lot of our employees during the pandemic, actually to construction. A lot of our laborers, meaning the line level cooks, they would see it as whether they were swinging a hammer or flipping a pan, they were laborers, right? So that's the way they saw it. our average rate for a cook goes from 18 to about $22 an hour, where in New York City right now, you can get 28 to $35 an hour as a construction worker. So a lot of our guys left, actually, but then about half of them came back. Half of them said, hey, you know, we're doing construction 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. We can actually still work for you part-time. And we kind of missed the kitchen. So like that was the beginning of the labor shortage. So obviously a lot of companies do have incentives. What we do is the word of mouth. If you bring in a friend, you get $200. You know, if as long as they work for us for 90 days, you get your $200. If you bring in someone that we hire as a manager, so that could be any salaried manager, any sous chef, any front of the house, back of the house, you get $1,000. So actually just recently we had one of our cooks brought in a guy who we hired as a sous chef. And so the cook, and like I just did the paperwork the other day, he ended up getting $1,000 for that, you know, and it's a huge incentive for them because now it's literally bring your friend to work day every day. Because then it also fosters a great environment because they get to really bring their friends to work. And, you know, it's if you're going to spend more of your time in the kitchen than at home, you're going to want a great work environment, right? It becomes your family. So if you can bring someone that you're very comfortable with and, you know, and keep that family going. And that's really what we've done at our location. It's, you know, I'm not the chef that's a yeller, screamer, you know, coming up through those, like that world, I used to take a lot of notes of what not to do, you know? So it's one of those things where we teach our sous chefs, we can plan accordingly, we can have intelligent conversations, you know, so when the time comes, everyone's acting appropriately and, you know, handles the stress appropriately. But at the same time, it's an industry where now it's, you know, before everyone used to joke about how participation awards and making people feel good, but you really have to, you know, if someone doesn't feel good, they're not going to want to be there. And especially for 12 to 14 hours a day, right? You're really spending more time in these kitchens than you are at home with your families. So if we can't make it family oriented, you know, then it's our fault. And if people leave, that's, you know, you have to look at yourself. So that's what we've done in my location. It's really just trying to foster that family feeling. And you'll see it, you know, when we have family meal, everyone sits together, they're joking. It's, you know, there's no one really cast it out or anything like that. And it's, you know, that's worked really well for us.
Great. Catherine, like I said, I haven't been to your restaurants, but I've called 2 of them to try to track you down at the beginning. And it just sounds like a happy place. How do you draw people to a concept that really nobody's familiar with?
So we, I guess part of our culture is that we consider ourselves more than a restaurant. We are a sanctuary for people that have dietary restrictions, food allergies, food restrictions. So a lot of the people that come work with us, you know, they have that, you know, they feel like it's more than a job, right? They feel like it's a service that they're providing for people. And that, I feel, fosters a positive environment all around.
Okay. Also want to welcome Russell. He was stuck in traffic and couldn't get on Zoom. Russell, just introduce yourself, please, and then let's talk about your place.
Hi, my name is Russell Jackson. I own Reverence in Harlem. It is the only African-American chef-owned fine dining restaurant in the state of New York.
Okay. So, Russell, you have a pretty strong team that works with you.
I have a band of wild animals that I manage to corral on a daily basis.
Well, it's, you know, it's a team. That's what's called a team.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Give some insight into what you're doing.
Well, you know, it starts with my belief and what I've learned in my 40-year career is that it starts with the leadership. And as the owner and the leader of this wild band, they follow my lead, and not just in that respect, you know, setting clear boundaries, being very transparent in our goals and our actions, starting from the before they walk in the door, really sort of setting the clarity of the bar and what we're here to represent. Reverence in its respect. I didn't open a fine dining restaurant or build this on my own with the goal in mind of trying to sort of reset the bar here in Manhattan. I wanted to have a place where I, in the latter half of my career, cook, enjoy, have a quality of life and a balance. And through this last year and in respect to the pandemic and the social justice movement, we've found that there's a clear opportunity for us to make a very important statement about the state of our industry, the state of our culture, the state of our community. And so we're striving towards those goals and attempting to reach higher echelons, going after a star, making sure that our team is really functioning as a team. My last restaurant had over 70, 80 employees. I think at one point we got over 100 people. And that was just a monster organization. This restaurant, I have 6, and 6 people with extreme intent. And we started, I looked at the framework of other restaurants and restaurants I've owned and restaurants that I've worked in. And there's that classic brigade style of multi-layers and multi-tiers of responsibility and leadership. And you're only as strong as your weakest link. What I realized was that, not unlike our modern day warfare, our modern military, there was the necessity of looking at how to be as effective and streamlined with the strongest in the fewest. So we look at ourselves as really a SEAL team with a chain of command and a level of responsibility to the whole. So our job is every day to be effective in achieving that goal of fine dining, high quality of service, high quality of food, high quality of execution, and that everybody, 1 to 6, are responsible for achieving that goal. So if I go down or 3 goes down, someone else is capable of stepping into that role and handling it. So to sort of throw another metaphor on top of all of it, we all play offense and defense in this house. There's no, instead of it being, well, you're FOH and BOH and that sort of classic breakdown, we're really just a team that functionally gets everything done. And there's also the aspect that everybody gets paid exactly the same. On paper, by talking to people that, if you're getting paid X, the same guy is getting paid X and not Y. And that there are no gender lines, no race lines, we're all the same here. They know how much I make. And if I take home a bonus or anything else, they see all the transparency, because again, in the end, I want them to be passionate about what they're doing. I want them to feel secure in their job, and I want them to be as effective as possible on a day-to-day basis. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, there's Peter. Bob, can you usher him through, please?
I'm not the last one in.
Yes, yes, that's right.
Not it.
That's it. I'll give you a star for that one. Erica, I know that you've just put on, well, I'd like you to talk about the day-to-day operation of the spa, the restaurant and the spa, but I'd also like you to discuss, you've been putting on these events in the last few months, and how you're able to corral all sorts of people and things to get it done.
Yeah, so my spa has been closed now. They just reopened a few weeks ago, but we've been closed since March of last year. Super unfortunate. The pandemic really took a massive hit with us because we weren't able to do outdoor dining, and we got hit with that double whammy of the fact that we were a service as well as a restaurant. So, I really took this time to kind of figure out who I was as a chef and the direction that I wanted to go into in this industry. And with that time off, having gone on to Top Chef Canada, I kind of found my stride in what I was doing. And when I returned back, I kind of just said, my husband's a chef as well, and we both really just wanted to exceed in our own way, and build our own team and see where we could take that. And we started getting a lot of requests to do events around Canada and doing in different cities. And there was a huge market for it. People, it was right around the time where dining started happening again indoors, and people really wanted something fun to attend to. So it was a whole experience that we were doing where, my husband and I would be there, we'd be on the line, we're cooking with a brand new team that we had never met before, training them. And there was we just did one in Edmonton a few weeks ago where we had a day to prep, a 5-course menu with a team that we had never met and never used their suppliers. And so it was learning, we were all learning together. And really, it's just word of mouth, social media, people wanting to start life again and wanting to attend these events and go out and have fun and, see different chefs. And, I feel like being a chef is not, cooking is such a big part of what we do, but it's also a very small part about what we do. You have to have that personable aspect with people and with your staff. And for other people who aren't in the restaurant industry to actually see that and see behind the scenes, I think is a really cool experience for them. So we just continue doing that. We've done a few around Canada. And then my husband and I are currently trying to get our catering business up and running, where we're building our own team for that. And, having to bring on people who just have the same vision as us. And it's just really about showing that, we're there with them, and we're those people that we do work 16, 17 hours a day. I was working, my last event was just this weekend, and I just hit almost 33 weeks pregnant. So I'm still, continuously doing it. And I'm showing my staff that as round as I am, I'll still be there with you.
Okay. I'm glad you said you'll still be with us for at least another 40 minutes.
Yeah, I think we're okay today.
Okay, good. Peter, welcome. Peter was
Morning,
stuck in
good morning.
traffic also. Must have been the same traffic Russell was stuck in. But Peter, just introduce yourself fast, and then I have a question for you.
Peter Herrero, New York Hospitality Group. We are, in the last 35 years, we are a 90-year-old restaurant and off-premise catering, barbecue catering, and food service, organic cafes and hospitals.
Okay. So Bob has known Peter forever, and I've known him for the last few years, and we've been frequenting his restaurant, and we've seen so many changes over the last 2 years. And now that you've built back to speed, you're shutting down for renovations. What are you doing during that to maintain your staff? And I know some parts of your business is still going to stay open.
Yes. Pandemic. We were shutting down in 3 weeks for about a month to 2 months of construction. We have a 15,000 square foot building that we're upgrading all our kitchens, ventilation, equipment, floors, draining, dining rooms, changing windows for the pandemic, HVAC, everything. Because of the pandemic, we won't be shutting down now. We'll be staying open because we can't get supplies. I can't get vendors to get back to us. It's amazing. You can't get, everything takes 4 times as long, and there's no clear path. So it looks like we'll be closing down in January, which is a whole nother issue, because we were trying to separate our construction so that we didn't have to do fire suppression, which for us is almost a deal breaker. It's $250,000 on top of $1 million. Yeah, I don't know how we're going to do it, but and we're a steel and concrete building, 1 floor above ground, 3 floors below ground. You can walk out in all our floors, but the local municipality is the local municipality. We are fortunate that we're giving our staff, depending if they want to stay. We have to actually, do you want to do construction and get paid? The general contractor is okay with it. They'll be cooking for everybody, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We've negotiated non-overtime hours for our construction team, as long as we feed them or send them home with food. So some will be cooking, some said,
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Way to go. That's so awesome.
well, Erica, to your point, they're going to be eating, the construction team, the carpenters, electricians, everybody is going to be not just eating our food in a private dining room because we're not open, but they'll be eating with the chef. So they'll be able to ask chef. We'll have breakfast. At 10 o'clock, we'll have coffee or cappuccinos or café con leche if you're Latin, lunch. And then 3 o'clock, we will have a waiter going around with cappuccinos and coffees or iced coffees. It makes it festival. I know we're used
Where
to
do I sign up? Holy
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I
are you
know,
up for
can I
Bob? You're
join?
up for construction.
we all laugh, but you have to understand, carpenters, masons, electricians, they don't have this. They have to go out.
Yeah.
You know, compared to, I'm sorry, did you want oat milk, low fat,
Yeah.
or regular milk?
Yeah.
So like if we get a cappuccino, we're happy. And no, I'm the guy who's usually gluten. You know, no one gets me anything. Oh no, did you want your hamburger with a gluten-free bun?
Oh, wow.
So we'll be closing in January, not now, but I will tell you, we're almost out of it now. Almost. I'd say we're 2/3 out of it. I've been listening on. We're making so many changes, even including opening up window. We had windows that were beautiful, kind of, you know, solid windows. Our windows will be open. We changed our HVAC. For our industry, this is an exciting time. I don't know when the gates are going to open up, but all these little changes, our clientele wants. I think the cities will allow us to have, I think, sidewalk dining to go. It's a lot of opportunities. I just wish it was a clear path.
Right.
How was that? Did I get it all in?
It sounds like we just spoke to the Huck Finn of restaurants. You know, how do you get people to do things? Give them coffee. Give them coffee. You know, I don't know if this exists in the restaurant world, but in a few sessions back, Yvonne had mentioned that he brings people in by offering them a career instead of a job. And I remember back in, you know, non-related to this, I ran a belt company in the garment center in Manhattan, and we would tap local, well, city programs for the underprivileged, for convicts who are coming, you know, serve their time and have shown that they can make it. And there were programs to hire people. I don't know if they exist here, but what we did is we taught them how to do business. Not only did they work, but we taught them the business so that they can change, go from here to there. You know, it all goes back to what Richard Branson said: train them so they can leave you, but treat them so they don't want to. Are there programs available, or are you reaching down into something? I'll get you next, Bob. I'll get you next. Does anybody have any comments on this?
There,
Yeah.
in our neck of the woods, they have it for kids. Our biggest challenge for kids is, and they're okay. It really is a cultural thing or a mental, social, economic. Everybody wants to be a chef, but no one realizes you have to be really good at it and do it 1,000 times within a day. And it's a mindset that So we have two kids right now. I should say one is 20 years old, one is 18, and it's hard. Out of 6 that we've had through the pandemic, one has turned out really well. A couple have the talent, actually. They just don't have the speed. I think everybody, a lot of the kids are hearing all these Google stories about everybody making $100,000 a year and don't be taken advantage of, that they don't want to completely commit. I like the idea of the career. We've picked up some high school students that have been phenomenal from a local Catholic school. And we lost a third in the interview period. We lost a third in the first 30 days. I don't know. I have stuff to do. I'm going away. I might be going away. I'll tell you my schedule a couple days before. I'm like, when you're serious about work, get back to me. We've had 3 though, out of the 9 that are phenomenal. They really, really are. They remind me kind of our generation when we were in high school, busting our, you know what, or working through pregnancy or working through so many different things. The culture, back to your point, Larry, they buy into the culture. And it was hard for our team to accept them as equals because they're kids. They're kids. Well, if you treat them as your kids, they won't buy into our culture either. Either are we welcoming or are we not? Pick. You can't be both.
Great, great. Thank you, Peter. Bob, your
So,
question.
Well, not a question. I want to comment and then see what people say about this. And this comment is not meant for people on this panel or on this call because you guys are all enlightened. This is for people that are for the rest of the food industry. Everybody these days, whether you're on this call or not, is using the word team. It's a big word, and leadership. Everybody's throwing those things around, and I'm pretty sure most people don't know what those mean. Just because you start calling people a team doesn't mean they're going to be a cohesive unit that's going to be all bought into the mission. Far from it. As a matter of fact, if you tell people they're on a team and treat them the same, you're building the distrust and building the chasm between you and them. If you purport yourself to be a leader and treat people like you are the general in the army, expecting everybody to just follow your orders unquestioned, then you are dooming yourself to high turnover, to people that are passively aggressive. You're going to turn your workspace into basically a place of competition where they're competing with each other for either for tips or for better wages or for something, but everybody's competing with everybody else. So it's not a true thing. By the way, in the military these days, everything has changed. There is no top down, the days of top down, I tell you what to do and you do it without question is over. What is happening is people are trying to real leaders grow their team, and they grow their team by involving them, and they involve them by asking them questions, by valuing their opinions, by treating them as human beings. You take somebody that's making you're paying them what is it, $2.40 or something like that as a minimum wage and tips on top of that, and they're heretofore were very, very replaceable. I mean, like instantly replaceable. So if you don't like it, get out of here. Those days are over, obviously, and we have to keep them. So how do you keep them? You build a trust between them and you can only build that trust by asking their opinions, valuing their opinions, and treating them like what they say means something. If you do that, they will buy into you, and they'll buy into your company, your business. So I just want to throw that out there. Let's not be real flippant about, hey, I now have a team and I'm a leader, and therefore I am, I'm on the road to the 21st century. Not true. The culture depends on cohesiveness that's built through sharing and valuing people as human beings and valuing their opinions, which is goes back to valuing them as human beings. I know that's a lot. I just wanted to throw that out there because what you guys are saying, I think, is really, really dead on. But for the general public, it's kind of, unless they buy into these kinds of things, it's not going to happen.
I know that part of the process, when you hire somebody, you're looking for someone you think will fit into the team. But once they're in and they're the new kid on the block, I'm going to throw this out to you. How do you knit them into the team so that they become a cohesive part of that group that has to work together? Stephen, why don't you start?
Sure. I think the mentality that right now, currently at my shop, what we do is what I train all my sous chefs to be is I want them to be coaches, not cops. All right. I want them to get the line level guys.
That's
if
cool.
you catch them, if you catch them in the act, don't be a cop, be a coach. Say, hey, this is the method you're using. This is the technique we should be using. But really, you have to realize as a leader or as a chef, there's sometimes you're actually not in the game. You're right. You're on the sidelines and you're coaching your team through the game, and you still need to win, right? Where if you look at Thomas Keller, where he says every single cook, chef, whatever is an extension of him, right? When they say, where's your knife? He's like, you see that guy? That's my knife. You see that girl? That's my knife. So every single person on your team or in your kitchen needs to be an extension of you. And if you're going to be that guy who's going to come over and say, like, you did this wrong, here's your write-up. That to me is you're being a cop, right? Versus if you want to be a coach and you want to mentor someone, they're never going to be afraid to come up to you and say, chef, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? It's going to be an open dialogue between up and down, top to bottom, left and right, more of a horizontal, like you said earlier, like it's not a top down anymore. It's more of a group, a circle. And that's really the mentality that we're trying to foster with our sous chefs. Because a lot of our sous came from, Charlie Palmer's world, where they got plates and sizzle, everything thrown at them, and trying to train them now to not, because they think they're being weak if they're not going to be that cop, but they really got to get in that mentality of, listen, there's sometimes you're not actually in the game, right? But you need to be able to coach your guys through it. Like if you're really, really in the weeds and you have a great chef and all he says, guys, throw away your tickets, just listen to my voice. I'm going to get you through this. That's what we need from chefs nowadays. And really, I look towards great coaches, like what can I learn from great coaches? Because they know they have to take every single player. I identify pros, cons, weaknesses, strengths, and they still need to win the game, so they really need everyone working together. So my mentality is, be more of a coach and less a cop.
Thank you.
That's well
Not
put.
hate on cops. I like
John
that.
Robinson all day, every day.
Yeah.
Creative.
I love that. I think that's a great mentality. The industry has changed so much over the years where, once upon a time, and I'm sure you guys can, agree with me on this, that we did come from those kitchens that you did get screamed at. You did get things thrown at you. I've had multiple plates thrown at me. And that mentality is just not there anymore. And you don't really win with that mentality anymore. It was once upon a time you need to distill fear into the cooks, and you're not going to get anywhere with that. Now you have to be there and you have to guide them. And there's a saying that I absolutely love, and it's, a leader doesn't go ahead of the pack. They're not the ones that are going to be at the front. They're the ones that are going to be behind, because they're the ones that are going to catch you when you fall, and they want to be there to really guide you and show you. And I have a big thing with the cooks that I work with. We'll have like really rough services, and at the end of the week, I want them to come up with, a dish of their own. We're all in this industry for a reason. We do it because we love to cook. None of us love to be working for 16, 17, 18 hours a day, but we do it because we love it. And there's a reason why we love it. So you have to show the younger generation and show those younger cooks the reason why they're there. Because especially here in Toronto, like, being a chef has become this glorified career, I think. And a lot of people look at it and they're like, oh, that looks fun. And they want to jump head first into it. And they don't actually realize what comes with it and the sacrifices that you do have to make to be in this career and to be a chef. And, you know, to like, to have one of the best restaurants, it's not easy. And you want to be friendly with everybody else. But at the end of the day, you're competing with the guy next door. And I don't think that the younger generation really understands that just yet until they get in there. And then once they get in there and they start doing it, they're like, oh, well, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too much for me. So, you know, I'm very firm with my team and with my chefs and my sous chefs and my cooks that, you know, I want them to be a part of it. I want them, like, from the second, even if they're a new hire, I'll say to them, you know, go to the kitchen, go to the fridge, see what we have in there, make something, make a dish. Let's see what you got. And, you know, if it's great, hey, why don't we run it as a special this week? You get your dish immediately on the menu. And, you know, if there are things to work on, then we work on it together and we work on building that into an outstanding dish that can be served out into the public. And they feel like they've just been a part of something great. And I think that's really important, is including them, regardless of, you know, rank or station in a kitchen. They're, you know, you want them to feel like they're a part of the team and they can work side by side with you, even if you are the head chef.
Yes, that's, you know, it's very important. There's an attitude out there right now with the young, the teens. You ask them what they want to be, and they want to be famous.
Yeah.
And they want to be famous. Thank you, Kim Kardashian and that whole crew, for being famous, They don't realize that to be famous, you got to build, you know, nobody's famous without the bruises that came along. And so Catherine, when you're working with your crew, you bring new people on. How do you bring them into that culture of dedication and happy that prevails in your places?
So during the pandemic, we took the time, we worked with a wonderful company, and we ended up franchising. And like Erica was saying, you know, people, they watch the restaurant industry on TV and they're like, oh, that's really fun. And that seems very, very easy, right? So we don't sell our franchise to just anybody, especially if the first thing they ask is, how much money are we going to make? Right? Like, that's, you know, to build a team, you know, you have to have, you know, somebody that's dedicated to the process, right? That understands that. So our hours, we're open from the public from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's the only time that we're open to the public. But that doesn't mean that we're not there at like 7 or 8 a.m. getting our prep on, and then, you know, making sure that everything's perfect for when the guests walk in. And, you know, fortunately, we're set up as a grab and go. We were going to offer a sit down option before the pandemic, but we pulled that from the table once the pandemic hit. And the pandemic, as you all know, in the restaurant industry, is not over. Like, I still have to fight for bacon, which is like, and roast beef. And, you know, so we have to now bring in like a different kind of person that understands that, you know, these are unprecedented times, and, you know, the process is much different than it was. So we're not looking for people that don't understand the process and don't understand the work that it takes and don't want to put the work in.
How do you filter them?
We have a very long vetting process. So if somebody inquires about a franchise, you know, initially we have, you know, the first conversation with them just to see where they are. And, you know, as far as their personalities are concerned, because with a franchise, you're basically getting married to them for 10 years. And you have to make sure the personality is there. And then there are several other conversations that we have with them to get to know the prospective franchisee before the FDD is even sent. So we do video chats. We do, you know, possibly have them come to the original location. So, you know, you just have to be sure. because again, like Erica said, people are watching this on, it's like HGTV, you know, like I collect butterflies and my husband collects caterpillars and we have a budget of $5 million. Like they don't understand that like there's like a whole lot of work that goes into running a restaurant.
Yeah. I think my last easy job in a restaurant was when I was like 6 years old.
Oh yeah.
And I was bringing the bread baskets to tables at my grandmother's hotel. And everybody pinched my cheek and gave me a nickel as a tip. And
So my daughter,
really
my daughter is 9 years old, and we keep her off of the computer as much as we can, off of the iPad as much as we can. She actually comes in. She started as a dishwasher, and as she worked her way, this is when she was 4 or 5 years old, and Eric, I'm sure you'll do the same thing. You know, like she worked her way up the ranks. She's actually threw her on the line to make sandwiches when we were short staffed, and she crushed it. And she's also graduated to now she runs the front of the house. And if you want your staff to crush it in tips, put a savvy 9-year-old in the front. Not only is she ringing people up like a champion, she's upselling. She says, would you like to add pickles, any mixers? She put out taste tests. I mean, but I can say that I do not want her to work in this industry. It's a tough industry, and I think it's a great experience. But I mean, as you all know, I don't have to tell you, it's a completely different animal. I don't want her having to work 18 hours a day. You know, even when you're not there, I wake up in the middle of the night like, oh my gosh, here's another, potential that could happen, especially during the pandemic. You know, we closed for 3 months. I don't want her to have to worry about stuff like that.
Yeah. Any other gems that we can give tips for people who are listening on how to find the right team, how to meld them into your mix so that that people are interchangeable? How do you duplicate so that people can step in for someone else?
Cross-train.
Yeah, cross-training is important, but you also have to be, as an owner, I think there's two things. I think that you have to lead by example. Yeah. And like, I tell my staff straight up, like, look, there isn't anything that I'll ask you to do in here that I haven't already done or am not willing to do in front of you. And from soup to nuts. And why did I say that?
Like washing the dishes, don't you wash? You're short dishwasher.
We don't have a dishwasher. I try to wash as many of my own pans and my own gear as possible.
Yes.
And again, but I think that the thing that for myself is I have to be open to surprises, because the things and the people that may show up on the doorstep that want to put their time in, I may look at them first off and go, I don't know. And I've been surprised more than not that some of those people that I didn't necessarily think had it have turned out to be some of my longest term people and some of my most brilliant people. And again, at its core is you have to have humility in all of it. You have to remember that your ego can get in the way, and that you have to take criticism and feedback just as well as you give it, if not better. And you have to lead with love. And I say this every time, but in the end, like, we're doing something that's built at its core value around love and service. And if you don't start there, you can't end there. And people get that. We're such a small restaurant and such a small team. If one of us is off, if I'm having a bad day, my staff tends to call me out. And I've gotten a lot better at that because they see all the stuff that I have to deal with and all the nonsense that I have to deal with sometimes, especially through the pandemic. And they've stepped up, and when it's been hard for me and I've been abused by circumstances, they've supported me in a way that has helped me to get through the other side. And then on days where I'm just being a dick, they will say, "You're being an ass today, dude. What's up?" And they'll let me step back and say, "Okay, yeah, you know what? I apologize. I'm not, like I'm having a bad day. I shouldn't have, it's like, it's not to say that I'm not going to have them, but, I don't need to take it out on you. I'll put it to the side now and I'll deal with it later." And it's just, again, you have to be willing to go there with your people because we're human. They are too. But you gotta have boundaries, and you gotta have transparency and really be willing to spell out the reality of situations. Be willing to, it's like chefs today, restaurant owners today aren't just, an employer and employee relationship any longer. And it's always been this way. You're a principal, you're a teacher, you're a coach, and now if you're smart, you're a wealth builder, you're an advisor, you like trying to help my kids in so many different aspects of their lives and core values that we talk about all the time. Like I spend more time talking with my crew about wealth building and about stocks and crypto than anything else, politics, because in the end, I want them to understand the world that they live in. And it's especially because my staff has predominantly been women, but now we've got a good ratio mix. But my staff are primarily all people of color, and having that opportunity to train them at a high, again, to give them all the resources and the knowledge at a higher level, but to achieve greater goals within their culinary career, but also to look at the long-term development as an adult. How do I get my own and hold my own apartment in Manhattan? How do I do all of these things in my life to support myself and ultimately support their career and this restaurant? And,
Thank you. Thank you. We're getting to that time, and I just want to say one thing. To separate myself from being in the business, I want to talk a little bit about being the person sitting at the table. And it is very comforting to come into one of your favorite restaurants and see the same people, the people being the waiter, the waitress, the busboys. And the successful restaurants maintain that staff, that familiarity. It's not enough just to be familiar with the menu and the type of food. You have a kinship to the people that serve you. And I know, sorry, but at Peter's restaurant, if Ron isn't there, my wife freaks out because who's going to make her drink? And it's something to be able to hold on to the people. So what I want to do now in the last few minutes is go around the room to give the people in the audience and on tape, we're going to watch the tape later on, one last 30-second takeaway that they should know, a little gem. I'm going to start with Erica.
Yeah, I think one thing that you just have to know about this industry is just again, love what you do and treat it like a family. That's how you keep those people for years and years and years. And that's how you walk into a restaurant and you consistently see the same faces. It's, I see some of these people more than I see my own husband. It's family. It's a family dynamic, and you have to keep that family dynamic, and they need to know that, you're in it with them just as much as they're in it. And, you're right there beside them.
Thank you. Stephen.
I think the biggest thing for me is giving every single shift 100%, 110%, mentally preparing yourself. I think yesterday was my Friday, right? Today I'm off Wednesday, Thursdays. I was dragging. I was really, really dragging. It took me like 20 more minutes to get to work than normal, but I had to brainwash myself before I walked in there, because all I wanted to do was just turn around, go home and hide in bed, right? But I had to go in there. I had to, put that, whatever you need to do, really to just give it 100, 110, 150%, because the minute anyone else sees you dragging, they're going to start dragging. You know, it could become a cancer. So you really, really got to keep yourself at that higher standard and do whatever you need to do to mentally prepare yourself and keep yourself at that level.
Thank you. Catherine.
I just love everything you all are saying. I think that I mean, obviously, you have good days and you have bad days, you know, especially during the pandemic. You know, it's just, if you're having a bad day, you cannot have a bad day in front of your staff. You always have to, you know, you always have to lead by example. And like we were talking about, I was talking with Russell, you have to do everything. You have to do the dishes, you have to get on the line, you have to, you know, you have to do everything. Like, our job isn't just to delegate, right? Our job is to make sure that everyone's productive and that everything gets out in the shortest amount of time possible. And you can't do that if you're, you know, going to yell at people, or, you know, you just think that you're going to stand there and yell at people and they're going to do what you say. You know, you have to be a team player also.
Okay, thank you. Peter.
I think we have to remember where we came from. And I appreciate the Ron story. I love Bob's background. It's us, and we take care of us, our family. It's our customers, it's our staff, how we treat each other. And Stephen, you're right. On a bad day, it's a bad day. I apologize, don't laugh. I go into the kitchen, I expedite, and I do dishes with the crew because I don't have my best game face on, and I can't. My crew actually, or the crew, it's not my crew, it's their crew, or the team, as you put it, Bob. They love it. They're like, Peter's in a bad mood. I take myself out, and I've asked them, I said, I apologize. I got my head up my you-know-what. But that humanity, as Catherine brought it to our attention, that humanity of the boss not being perfect, I do my best. I do. I will support you. I'll run food. We send soup sippers out to tables from the chef. Chef doesn't even know about it. That he apologized. The food wasn't just right, and he wanted to make it right. Yeah, because we needed an extra 20 minutes because you can't get anything straight. I love being part of the team again. I wasn't there for a long time because I was dealing with construction, and development, and as Russell says it, and stocks and money and wealth management. Our floor, our people just want to do hospitality. That's all.
Thank you. Russell.
You know, again, I think everybody's said some really valuable things today. And again, I'll reiterate that leading by example and leading with love through all of it. And remembering that foundation is what's going to ultimately get you there and get you through. And if you let people see your heart and your intent, that you'll have better outcomes. You know, again, yes, kitchens are evolving, and I do come from a background of pain, fire, stabbings, and beatings. And as an African American chef, I took beyond my fair share of it. But I was taught a very long time ago that if you don't have that at your core, your customers, everybody that you touch are going to see the reality of it. So you know, stay grounded and stay active.
Thank you. Fred.
Thank you, everybody, for participating. Really, really incredible session. And, you know, I feel so much better after seeing what happened on Friday at Carmine's, which really upset me in terms of we've worked so hard to get people to come back, and now to be put in a situation like that, et cetera. What does it say about working in this industry? So what I walked away with today is slow down. That was an individual incident based on a lot of factors, from vaccines to whatever, et cetera. And, bottom line is I always think about walking through these trade shows, and it's always about how do we replace people? How do we replace labor? Well, guess what? Hospitality is still people in front of people, and it's going to remain like that. And thank you guys for sharing a bunch of great ideas that truly can be utilized to make that continue to happen. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Fred. Bob?
Everybody on this call said really tremendous things and really gets it. Russell, I want to pick up on something you said just off of one last thought. Your approach is really super, and that approach I think is, in different words, is grow your people as people. Help them grow as people. Don't help them grow as sous chefs. That doesn't really matter. You help them grow as people, they will walk through fire for you.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Just one last note from me. I want to thank everybody for coming on the call. I want to thank everybody for the contributions they made. I forgot to thank someone for the contribution they made to this at the very beginning because we had a little bit of a chaos. I want to thank Valiant Technologies, our sponsor. Like I always say, there are a lot of bad guys out there that want your information that's on your computer systems. And if you ever want to avoid being hacked, losing information, losing control of your computers and your point of purchase system, contact Valiant Technologies. If you need any information, give me a call. They're great people. They will help protect you. And the only two things I have to say after that is, everyone out there, stay positive, test negative, and I'll see you all soon.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Take care, everyone.